Dead Rock Chapter 2 is here, and man, was it worth the wait. This was another really awesome, really cool chapter. Some more stuff that adds more to some of the characters, more rules into Dead Rock itself. We got an insight as to why Yakuto is doing what he's doing, his reason for wanting to take out God, and the seemingly group dynamics are starting to form in this chapter. Now, before I get into this, let me just say two things. One, I am very sorry the last two Dead Rock videos I did on the world building and my theories on Yakuto's reason for entering Dead Rock, I stated that the next chapter wouldn't come out till September. That was my mistake. I was told that when it says September issue, it really means it's coming out in August. I did not know that when I was recording the chapter review and the subsequent videos. So those are kind of ill-informed, and I apologize for that if I misled anybody and you were surprised there is a chapter 2 of Dead Rock out right now. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I'm very sorry. That's my mistake. I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. And two, I want to thank you all for getting the first chapter review of Dead Rock to 13,000 views within a month. That is just insane to me because I did not think that chapter review is going to do so well, and I honestly kind of have high hopes for the second chapter review to do just as, if not half as good as that one. So if he can get to that amount of views in roughly the same amount of time, I think we're looking at like the next big ringer of the channel instead of Four Nights at the Apocalypse, so it just makes me excited. But all the pleasantries out of the way, let's start the video. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and like the video, and hit the notification bell. Only 26% of the people that watch my videos are subscribed to the channel, and if you haven't already and you watch my videos, please subscribe. You will be able to check out whenever I upload next, and you'll be notified right away every single time I post something. Issue of Dead Rock, titled School Rules, Article 3. First off, I just like this cover image of Yakuto just looking down over a cliff over across the Demon Realm. Really cool, and I'm already liking Yakuto as a character as well as everyone else. So this chapter starts off directly from last chapter with Yakuto with that sinister grin after he literally just destroyed the head of their homeroom teacher, with everybody kind of worried and shocked over what he just did. Freyr just being in love because chaos and fighting, so she's kind of on board with whatever Yakuto says, but Yakuto says that he wants to kill God, and that's the reason why he came to the school. But Charo then chimes in and asks, when he says kill God, does he mean the school principal? As Chako literally says that he's literally God. He is the strongest, but then corrects themselves and says, no, the evilest man in all the realms, as we see a diabolical image, full page of God. And this is just sick as hell. I love it. I honestly need this to be I'm going to get this covered for myself. I need this to be colored for myself as a wallpaper. This just looks super cool and badass. Ryson then begins to obviously question Yakuto on what kind of psycho kills their teacher on the first day and asks if he's insane. Yakuto, with the straightest look, just says, I'm going to kill all the teachers of the school either way. I simply wanted you all to know how serious I was. And Hanni is just like, I know I asked this before, but are you stupid? And Chako chimes in stating that Yakuto is definitely stupid. But then Hanjin then pulls out his ice blade and points to Yakuto, saying, why do you wish to kill God? And Yakuto just says, because he's an imposter. That God of ours is a fake, which does shock Hein, and Freyr asks what he means. And Yakuto nonchalantly just kind of in a comedic way explains his reasoning as he says, it's strange when you think about it. Why would the ruler of the demon realm call himself God? As Hanni's just like, really? That's the reasoning? And Yakuto goes on to say, well, normally the sovereign of the demon realm would call himself something like Demon King, Devil General, or Emperor of Hell. I think he literally just listed every single isekai antagonist name title in existence at the moment. So I kind of feel like Mashima is being kind of self-aware with the titles here. And Chako's like, yeah, you got a point there. Yakuto says that in any case, the demon realm must have had a rightful sovereign before God came to rule. As Mikoto just says, must have. So you have no proof. And Freyr's like, so he did something that stupid because of a guess. And she reiterates that she is now in love. I love Freyr already. If it isn't clear, I just love Freyr. Mikoto, but right now Freyr is stealing my heart. Yakuto says, look, I wish to return the demon realm to its true state. with a singular panel of Mikoto just staring at Yakuto, probably speculating on what he means by it. Ryson just says, don't joke with us and don't drag us into that. If you want to pick a fight with God and die, knock yourself out. As he gets up and leaves the classroom, Yakuto asks if he's going to literally tell on them, but Ryson just says, nah, it's not my style, that's pretty lame. But he says this, before God even gets a chance to kill you, I'm gonna cut you up myself. Potentially setting up some sort of rivalry between the two. Maybe. It's a nice setup, but I just like that panel of him looking menacingly at Yakuto. Hein then puts his sword away and says, I too do not agree with you, but neither will I stop you, as he walks out of the classroom. Mikoto questions a false god. I admit, I find that intriguing, but actually just says, what do we do about this, our teacher's body? As literally, a corpse is in the middle of the room with the skull caved in and seemingly smushed against the wall. Freyr asks to burn it. Hanni just reiterates his catchphrase at this point, calling her stupid. But he does ask, even if no one tells on them, they'll find out sooner or later. Yakuto then calls out to Mikoto, asking her if she can control corpses, as she confirms this as her roots are the Lich, as she begins to manipulate Maxwell's corpse. And Yakuto comedically and very morbidly and kind of grossly just takes Chako and plants Chako on Maxwell's corpse where his head used to be. This is hilarious, dark, and morbid. I kinda love it. And Hanni just like, look, I get where your head's coming from. No one's gonna fall for that. But Chako, as they're panicking, realizes that Maxwell's body is hollow inside. As Yakuto then knocks on the body, realizing it is hollow, and that kinda means that Professor Maxwell has the roots towards a golem. And Freyr just says that potentially he is just like Hanni. Hanni just says, my roots are from Thor, the god of thunder. But I am told that I look just like a clay figure, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty sure everybody would have thought that Hanni was like a golem upon first introduction until he said he was, from the roots of Thor. Yakuto with a gleeful smile says, in that case, he might have a spare head in his room. As him and then Freyr following suit are on search for a spare head for Maxwell since he is a golem, which is hilarious, and I'm gonna be honest, would kind of make sense to an extent. Makoto's like, what is with this kid? As Chako says, you're crazy, dude. You don't just stuff a young lady in a demon body, as Hanni is kind of alerted to the fact that Chako was a woman. So, honestly, I'm just glad we got that. I'm not really going to laugh at that one instance, because I'm just glad we got clarification, because I was originally calling Chako a he, and since, manga, no voices, it's hard to tell. But, hey, we got a pretty decent lineup now. We got 3 girls, 4 guys in a room, so almost balances out. We might get a fourth girl to fully balance out the cast potentially, so we'll see how that goes. But we then cut to Dead Rock's cafeteria named Hell's Kitchen. As a New Yorker, Hell's Kitchen, I immediately think of Daredevil as well. Anyway, we cut to a couple of panels of just like demon shows preparing food, other demons enjoying their food, and Ryson beginning to just eat food all by himself, a bunch of food as well, as he says, every student here dreams of becoming Demon King. I'm not letting some crazy son of a bitch get in the way. And then 2 pompous students that got into the academy go up to question if Ryson is from class F, someone that did some dumb exam to get in since he had no education according to them. And they begin to mock the fact that they had to fight those giant demon ants that were killing everyone left and right. And they begin to make fun of him as like, it's gross, it's just ant extermination, not that big of a deal. He got into Dead Rock for killing some ants, and it's not that big of a deal. Chances are these guys just did not see these types of things, so they definitely don't know how brutal that entrance exam was. As the squid-faced demon begins to think that it's super lame and says, I feel like we should have gone to 4 Heavenly Kings training school. Now, I have no idea if this is just a joke or if this is an actual place. Whether this is in the demon realm, which probably is, but maybe this has something to do with maybe some demon generals maybe, or maybe some heavenly generals like from like the heavenly realm or the human realm or something. That's something to consider. If that's like backdoor world building, I'm perfectly happy with it, and that's honestly really good to hear. Ryson tells him to get lost, but the Pompadour demon just says, look, this school's rules are really something else, as he states that Dead Rock School Rules Article 3 is, kill anyone you don't like. And that is in the student handbook. And is basically dead on arrival. You can abide by that rule. Which means there's no punishment if this guy just straight up tries to kill Ryson right here and there. But immediately Ryson then takes his sword and chops off both their heads, killing them instantly. As he says, well, that's a relief, as he literally just dropped 2 students dead, increasing his on-screen kill count, to the shock of all the other students. But Ryson just says he got his princess dirty, and begins to clean his blade, and while it was eating too. But then, a giant demon walks over towards Ryson where he killed the students. Goofy or bizarre? This one definitely has intimidation on it. I like it. He then picks up the corpses as Ryson's asking, just stating they're the ones who started the fight, but the chef just picks up the bodies and just walks away. As Ryson asks, what are you going to do with them? As the chef just says, eat it. As this shocks Ryson and the other students in the area, as he questions, don't tell me you use students' bodies for your cooking. As the chef just says, once in a while, as everyone begins to throw up at disgust over this. And Ryson asks, what are today's ingredients? The chef just says, I ain't putting them here. I ain't putting her in. Because I'm gonna eat her. And this immediately triggers a flashback for Ryson, as we see an image of his past. He is seemingly in a destroyed castle, as someone is crying out his name. He's crying out to a princess, as we see an image of a young woman, a princess, calling out for help with a sword that looks almost, if not exactly like Ryson's current sword, impaled through her as you see dark energy being expelled through it. As this person who's impaling her says, the princess has become my meal. In Ryson's shock, this dialogue continues to say, as she is in pain, this curse can only be broken by a demon king's power, as this person that is using the sword on the princess is smirking devilishly. Now, before we continue with this chapter, this is a very good glimpse into Ryson's past and backstory. And so, I think we literally just got what Ryson's motivation for coming to Dead Rock was in becoming a Demon King. To break this curse on the princess. And based off of his key choices of dialogue in the last chapter and in this one, calling his sword his princess, and what we've seen with the sword that he's wielding right now that's being impaled into the princess and a curse being imbued on her, I can honestly think that maybe the princess has been sealed inside his trusty sword, potentially making it stronger, but he wants to keep it clean as it is technically the princess that I believe he was a knight or bodyguard sworn to protect her, and he wants to break the seal, to break this curse, to set her free, thus why he wanted to enter Dead Rock so he could break this curse. Just off these 2 pages in the key choices of dialogue, I can easily speculate on this whole scenario. The full situation and how this came to be is still up in the air, and whether or not this was a demon that did this, maybe a type of human, or maybe a heavenly creature out for revenge. I'm going with demon for now, but still, it's pretty interesting. Ryson then gets up and says, I have to become Demon King. The chef stops as he says, hey, the rules here say you can kill anyone you don't like, right? Ryson just says, so that means you can even kill teachers and stuff, right? As the ogre just states, sure, if you can. Ryson then goes up to say, right when I was feeling pissed off, as he begins to swing a sword at the ogre. The ogre takes his giant meat cleaver and then swiftly dices up Ryson into multiple pieces in this 2-page spread, showcasing the vast disparity between the chef's pure physical strength and Ryson's. As Ryson's like, just, huh? As literally all the students are in shock and horror, as some are like, well, he did just pick a fight with the head chef. Poor freshman. As Ryson's just fading away, being like, no way, I'm dead. But then Yakuto then begins to walk forward, reciting the school Article 3 for Dead Rock, you shall kill anyone you don't like. As he says, I see, so it applies to teachers as well? As he walks up to the chef and says, I don't like you for cutting up my classmate. I suppose that is a valid thing to say. As he then uses dragon build formation, turning his right arm into a dragon's once more, as the ogre then notices, as well as everyone else, as Freyr holding a head for Maxwell, which means they did manage to find a spare head for the guy, which is crazy. And Yakuto, looking very sadistically, pulls back his fist and begins to throw a punch towards the ogre, as in a 2-page spread we see another, I assume, black dragon fist with another image of acnologia to accompany that massive blow straight to the ogre, knocking him back. I don't think this killed him, but potentially knocked him unconscious and threw him across the room. But then Yakuto corrects himself, thinking, wait a minute, he's the head chef. Does he count as a teacher? Which is honestly hilarious, being like he's school staff. Maybe he's not a teacher, but who knows? That's kind of something cool. But then a girl off in the distance notices Yakuto is a black dragon. Now, based off the design, I think the cat eaters, I do feel like this is going to be an important character moving forward for the side cast. And I am very much looking forward to seeing this character if we do get some more background to her. This is what I was alluding to by saying that we might get more female characters in the main cast, but right now I just have the main 7. She might be a supporting cast member once we get her name and her roots. We then cut towards Dead Rock's school dorm bone rampage, which is seemingly the dorm room for all the students, as we cut to Ryson with stitches all over his face as he wakes up, as Yakuto and Charo and even Mikoto and Freyr are surrounding him, as they're glad that he is awake. And he says, I should be dead. But Mikoto says, you are dead. Freyr just says he got brought back as a zombie, and Mikoto says that he's now her puppet, as he gets up and says, what the fuck, as his body was stitched together and he's brought back to life. Yakuto says that it's a relief, as Ryson is just like, what do you mean I got brought back as a zombie? As Hein is just off in the background just looking at this whole thing, what's going on, and Ryson's wondering what's going on with his body. As Freyr just says Yakuto just picked up all the pieces and helped put them back together. Every bit. And Yakuto just says, yeah, with the most wholesome smile on his face, he says, it was pretty gruesome. I can only imagine having to carry your classmate's dismembered corpse throughout multiple pieces and bring it back to the dorm room so your necromancer friend can bring them back to life as a zombie. That sentence just felt so off, yet so right at the same time. Anyway, Han just says, I guess that's one good thing about you. As, yeah, Yakuto literally just brought his classmate back together after being ripped apart so he can be brought back to life. As we do get a nice, wholesome classmate moment as everyone begins to smile as Ryson is up, and Ryson's being like, how should I put this? You saved me, so, and then Yakuto gets a smirk as we get a full page of him being sadistic and menacing as all hell. He says, I told you I'd get you all involved. I won't let anyone escape until I kill God. And there goes the wholesome atmosphere. Shocking hanni, Ryson and Chako, Mikoto getting nervous, and Freyr just laughing her ass off out of all this because she's just along for the ride at this point. As hanni's just like, there goes the good atmosphere we got, as everyone's arguing over what's going on right now. As Ryson yells, I thought you were an okay guy. Right when I was starting to think that. You can kill all the gods you want, just keep me out of it. As Yakuto just says, not a chance. Without all your help, the demon realm will never return to its true state. As Mikoto remembers how Yakuto said this back in their classroom, I wish to return the demon realm to its true state. As Mikoto smirks and says, such a splendid facade, as we see an image of Yakuto smiling, as she says, but your true goal is something else, isn't it, Yakuto? So this implies that one of the potential ideas of Yakuto wanting revenge is still his true motive, and maybe the idea that God is an imposter is just a pleasant line that he's trying to tell everybody to have them come along and help him in his quest, which makes sense, but Mikoto is seeing right through it, so at this point she, along with Freyr, is kind of along for the ride for this, just to see what's going on and want to see what's going on for Yakuto and what he really wants. Freyr just wants a fight, so she's in it 100% no matter what. But then Freyr goes up and says, if killing teachers isn't a crime, then there was no point in making this. But Yakuto says, yes, there was. Our obedient teacher was born, which is convenient for us. But Mikoto just says, he's mine though. As we see Professor Maxwell, as he is stitched back together and is now Mikoto's puppet. Literally, this was literally predicted by almost everybody in the comments, and I think the Dead Rock subreddit, that Mikoto would bring back Maxwell as a puppet so no one would realize he was killed, which makes sense. I didn't really mention it at all, but it makes complete and total sense, and it happens, and this is honestly the perfect cover story. As now, with the last panel of the chapter, Yakuto says for Maxwell, their new puppet, to work hard until they kill God. Ending the chapter. And that is chapter 2 of Dead Rock. Another really awesome chapter. I cannot express how much I enjoyed this, as you could probably tell from what my thoughts throughout this chapter. We got some quick, easy pieces of action, one of the main characters has gotten a brief glimpse into their backstory. We know that Chako is a woman now. We know one of the school rules of Dead Rock. We kind of got Yakuto's reasoning, quote-unquote reasoning, for wanting to kill God and entering Dead Rock in the first place was so he could kill God. And he does need his schoolmates' help, so it does show that he wanted to get into Class F so that he could find the strongest demons that survived the entrance exam to help him out. And he says that God's an imposter. Whether or not that's true is kind of up in the air. It's possible that that's a convenient lie that Yakuto kept cooked up so people will believe him, or be more likely to come on board with his whole trying to overthrow the ruler of the demon realm type shtick. But either way, I'm excited to see what's going on. And I like the power disparity between Ryson and Yakuto right now, because I do feel like we're going to see more of these characters in each subsequent chapter. We'll see different characters, different teachers, different students with different roots, and we'll have a different focus on another member of the main 7. Since this one focused a bit more on Ryson in comparison to everyone else, I do feel like maybe next time we'll get Hein, and then we'll focus on Freyr, Mikoto, Hanni, Chako, and see all their abilities and where they need to grow. Either way, I'm excited to see what happens next. This series already has a solid fan base growing, and Mashima knows what he's doing so far for this series, and I am all in right now. I cannot wait for September when we get Chapter 3. Well, I'm still debating on whether or not I'm going to make another video in between this chapter and Chapter 3. I still got to cook one up. But either way, I'm excited. But all that out of the way, what do you guys think? How did you feel about this chapter? What do you think about the action, Yakuto's reasoning, Ryson's brief glimpse into his backstory? How do you feel about Dead Rock as a whole? And how do you think things are going to happen next? Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really does help, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make on my channel. And it'll keep me more motivated to make Dead Rock content, as I do like this series so far. Really strong start, and I cannot wait to keep covering it with each subsequent chapter. But with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have an awesome day.